Day of Chodesh Mar Cheshvan, and we have the schus of learning, starting from yesterday, the fourth parak of Maseches Pesachim, and we are up to the bottom of Daf Nun Amud Beis, going on to today's Amud, which is Nun Aleph Amud Aleph. Says the Gemara, two lines from the bottom of Daf Nun Amud Beis. Bnei Chazai. There was a place called Chazai, and the people that lived in Chazai. This is following on from the conversation that we had yesterday. Just very briefly to recap, is that the people of Baishan wanted a heter to be able to travel from Tzor to Tzidon even on Fridays, whereas their ancestors did not travel on Fridays because they didn't want to risk any chilul Shabbos. So they didn't go to the market on Fridays. And they wanted a heter to, the children wanted a heter to say, our parents were very wealthy, they could afford to do this. We are not so wealthy, can we have a heter? And Rabbi Yochanan said to them, absolutely not. If your fathers had the minhag not to do this, then your minhag continues to be the same. The people of Chazai had this minhag to take challah off, to separate challah from aros. Aros is oris, from rice. Rice is obviously not one of the 5 species of grain. That was machlokas that we saw earlier on in the previous parak, whether or not rice is one of the mini dagan, and we paskin against Rabbi Yochanan Menuri. We say no, rice is not, and it's therefore not good for matzah, and it's not good for you don't need for washing and benching, and it doesn't become chametz, and it doesn't need to have challah taken from it. But in Chazai, they did take challah from rice. Also, Amrulei Rav Yosef, they came and they said this to Rav Yosef. Amar lehu nichle zar be'apayu. Get a non-kohen to eat it in front of them, to demonstrate to them that minhag is nonsense, and that they should be able to eat rice without taking challah. Abai says, Rav Yosef, I don't understand. Things that are mutar, but other people treat them as also. Turning over the page to Nun Aleph Amud Aleph, other people treat it as also. You are not allowed to go be matter in front of them. Amarla, he said to them, V'lav mi itmar Allah. Didn't we already say about this? Amar of Chisa said, B'kusai, that this is only talking about kusai, meaning, you're not allowed to be matter in front of them. You're not allowed to be matter a ridiculous minhag, meaning a minhag that doesn't have a basis in halacha. That's in front of kusayim. That's in front of people like the Kusim. The Kusim were a tribe that settled in the Shomron. Much later on, after the Aseres HaShvatim were already sent off to into Assyrian exile. And these Kusaim, Kusim were not very practiced at keeping mitzvahs. And as we'll see in a moment, Kusaim my time. What's the reason that you cannot be mater minhag in front of the Kusaim? Mishum de mesarchim milsa, because literally it means the matter is going to be mashiach. It's gonna decay, meaning they're going to end up thinking that you can be matter other things. So if you be matter something that the Kusayim think is also, they're going to think that other things that are also mutter. So whatever isurim they have, just keep it that way. Don't mess with it. Says the Gemara, hanech anshinami sarchimils. These people were also, meaning the people of Chazai, they're not Kusim. They want to keep halacha, but they don't have a background. They don't have an education. Rashi here says, Sarchim is kushi. This is a challenge. This is the asu le imnoi machla af limnoi mechala amidagan. Because what's going to end up happening is you don't have to take challah from rice, and they're going to say, oh, challah is not so important, so they're going to be making challah in general. So the same thing is going to happen. So Ella Amar Rashi says, no. What do we do here? Yeah, you have to be careful. You have to be careful because this community, you'll see, you have to worry about it both ways. Chazin, we should investigate. We should see. If the majority of people in that town eat oris, if That's their normative staple. That's the way that they usually eat grain. So loy nechel zar ba'apayo, then do not have somebody demonstrate. I have a non-Kohen eating this dough in front of them without taking challah. So don't demonstrate that this is actually mutter. Why? Because they're going to perhaps end up forgetting all the halachas of challah. The only way that they're going to preserve the halachas of challah in this ignorant community is by taking of challah from oris, from rice. And if the majority of them eat grain, so then you absolutely should be matter the rice in front of them. Why? Because what's going to happen is they're going to make they're going to make a rice dough, and they're going to make a wheat dough. And since they don't usually make the wheat dough, but usually they make the rice dough. Usually they make rice, wheat. They don't make rice. One day they're going to make rice, and they're going to say, "Oh, this is so special. Let's take the challah off from the rice, and that'll cover everything." And then they're going to end up eating grain without taking challah, because rice cannot help you if you're making a few helpings of dough. So then you could take off a little bit of dough from one of them to be pater everything, but that's only if everything is chayiv in challah. But if the rice that they're going to take the challah from is not chayiv in challah, so what's going to happen? They're going to end up taking off challah from that which is chayiv for that which is pater, and that which is pater from that which is chayiv, and therefore they will end up eating their dough without having taken off challah appropriately. So this is a chumrah that ends up being a tremendous leniency. By leniency we mean an isur. Gufa on this matter itself says the Gemara as follows: that with regards to matters that are mutar and other people hold that it's asur, you are not allowed to be matter that in front of them. Amar of Chisa says, that's where we're talking about kusim. She says, and what do you mean only for kusim? Is that really not for everybody? Tanya didn't we learn in the and we're going to discuss this first din a little bit later. So hold up on what pshat is in this first din. Two brothers are allowed to bathe together. I mean, they can go to the bathhouse together. Ve'ein rechatzin shnei achim bekabul. But in this place called Kabul, you're not allowed two brothers don't bathe together. And it happened once with Yehuda and Hillel, Banav shel Rabban Gamliel, the sons of Rabban Gamliel. They both went to the same bathhouse in Kabul. And the whole of Kabul started whispering about them, meaning they started saying bad things about them. They said, "We've never seen such a thing. Two brothers going to the bathhouse together. We've never seen such a thing. Crazy." V'nishmat Hillel v'yatzal beis hachitzon, and Hillel slept out. He went to the outer room, meaning he went out of the bathhouse. He went into the back into the waiting room. And he didn't want to say to them mutarim. Mutarim, actually, it is permissible. Everywhere else in the world, you are allowed to do this. And he didn't want to say this, ostensibly because things that people hold are asur, and you know that it's mutar, you're not allowed to be matter in front of them. Meaning, all of this is part of the same challenge against what Rav Chisda said, that this is talking about kusim. So these in Kabul, they're not kusim, they're Jews, regular Jews. Says the Gemara, Yotzim Kurdikison. Those are slippers. Yotzim Kurdikison b'Shabbos. You are allowed to wear slippers on Shabbos. Meaning they are like flip-flops. You slip your feet into them, but they can slip out easily. you're allowed to wear them on Shabbos. Ve'in yotzim mekur dekisim b'Shabbos be'kiri, but be'biri. But people in Biri don't wear these slippers. Umaisa b'Yehuda v'Hillel b'Anam Shel Rabbi Gamliel. Apparently, this same duo of Yehuda and Hillel, the sons of Rabbi Gamliel, they got into trouble about this again. They seem to be stepping around Eretz Yisrael and getting into trouble. They were wearing these slippers on Shabbos in Biri. And everybody got worked up about it. Everybody started to get upset about it. Amru, they said, we've never seen such a thing. Shamtam, and then they slipped off their flip-flops, and they gave it to their servants. Gave it to the servants to carry. And they didn't want to say to them, actually, you're allowed to wear flip-flops on Shabbos. I think we've got an extra one over there. You're allowed to wear. You're allowed to sit on Safsalei Nochrim Shabbos, on non-Jewish benches on Shabbos. But you're not allowed to sit on non-Jewish benches in Akko. And what's happened with Rabbi Shimon Gamliel? That's not the same two, but apparently their brother. He sat on non-Jewish benches in Akko. And the whole state started laughing at them. Amru, they said, we've never seen such a thing. And they slipped onto the floor. He slipped on the floor. He didn't want to say, actually, this whole thing is mutter. So says the Gemara like this. What's going on? The people that live by the sea also, meaning they're not Kusim, but the Bnei Medina Sayam, these chevra that live by these seafaring areas, because there's not a lot of Talmidei Chachamim that come to these places. Kusim dami, they're the same halacha as Kusim, which means that we are concerned that they are not Talmidei Chachamim, and if they're not Talmidei Chachamim, then they will not be able to. They're not Talmidei Chachamim, then they're not going to be able to discern necessarily. Is there something that we had a ridiculous minhag before, and now it's mutter, or they're going to end up learning leniencies from those other areas? Says the Gemara, it makes good sense to say that there was a minhag in some places not to sit on Safsalei Nachrim. Where does it even come from? Because it looks like you're doing business on Shabbos. If you sit on the non-Jewish benches in the marketplace, it looks like, oh, you're about to do business. So that's why it makes sense that people would have thought that it's awesome. But Kudakisanami and wearing flip-flops, slip-on shoes on Shabbos as well. Why? Dilma Mistalfin Vasu le is Nuyenu Arabs. Maybe they're going to slip off, and then you're going to end up carrying them for Amos in the Shus Arabim. Meaning they're not tied tightly to your feet, so maybe they're going to slip off. You're going to end up carrying them. Those make sense. What's the problem with two brothers taking a bath, meaning going to the same bath at the same time? Why can't you have two brothers doing this? Did Tanya, because we have a brisa? What was their rationale? Why can't two brothers go to the bathhouse together? Did Tanya? Everybody's allowed to go to the bath with whomever they want, meaning obviously of the same gender. Chutz, with the exception of Aviv v'chamiv uval imoy uval achaisa. You're not allowed to go to the bathhouse with your father and with your father-in-law and with your mother's husband, uval achaisa, and with your sister's husband. Rabbi Yehuda matir b'avim. Rabbi Yehuda is matir with his father. If his father needs help, so you can go assist his father in the bathhouse. And the same thing is true about his mother's husband. And they came along and they said in Kabul, they said that two brothers shouldn't go to the bathhouse together. Because if you can't go with your brother-in-law, you shouldn't go with your brother. What's the concern of not going to the bathhouse? Is that there's certain members of family that if a person sees naked, so they're going to start thinking inappropriate thoughts about a member of family. So if you're worried about that with your brother-in-law because he's married to your sister-in-law, so maybe you'd be worried about your brother because he's married to your sister-in-law, meaning from the other side. And that was their chumrah. But again, it was a chumrah shalakadin. There wasn't la halacha, and therefore, since they didn't have Talmid Chachamim present there, so the concern was, if you matter this, they're going to be matter other things as well. Says the Gemara Tana, we have a brisa as well. Talmid lo yirchatz im rabbi, that a student should not go to the bath with his rebbe because of covered for his rebbe. If im rabbi tzarich rebbe, if his rebbe needs help, so mutter then he can go to the bathhouse. Ki asa Rabbi Bar Chana, when Rabbi Bar Chana arrived, meaning from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, achel de aisra. He ate the aisra. The aisra is fat that surrounds the stomach. There's fat that surrounds the stomach that's also that's called chelev, and then there's a little bit of fat that's called shuman. That's permissible fat, but it's only a little bit. And apparently in Bavel they didn't eat it. Olagabi Avira Saba, Rabba Bereder Rav Huna, Avira Saba and Rabba Bereder Rav Huna showed up, came to Chazinu, and when he saw them, so Kisayim, he hid from them. He didn't want them to see that he was eating this in Bavel. They held that it was mutter, in Bavel they held it was also. Also, Amr Abai, they came to tell Abai the story. And Marlo, he started laughing at him. He says, Shavinchu Kikusai. He holds like you're like the kusim. Meaning, he holds that he's not allowed to be matter in front of you because maybe you're going to come and be matter other things. So he holds that in Bavel, you're taking not from. Says Rabbi Rechana leis leihadet nan b'noisen l'chum rakim sheyasmin kam l'chum rakim shalach l'sham. Hold on, Rabbi Rechana didn't hold of this din that you're supposed to be machmir like the place that you came from and the place that you're going to. Why is he not machmir like the machmir in Bavel? So Amar Abaye says hani mili mi Bavel leBavel. That's only true if you're going interstate in Bavel. One place in Bavel to another place in Bavel. Eretz Yisrael. One place in Eretz Yisrael to another place in Eretz Yisrael. Inami, alternatively, mi Bavel Eretz Yisrael. If you go from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, lie. But if you go from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, you don't have to be machmer like they are machmer in Bavel. Why? Kaven de onan kaifinu lehu avdin kavasayo. Since we in Bavel are kafif to Eretz Yisrael, meaning we are subservient to Eretz Yisrael, an avdin kavasayo, we do like them, meaning we allow them to continue their practices. And the Babylonians. Sabra that goes to Bavel can keep his home practice. To be continued tomorrow.